Welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I am Connor Williams, and this is the extra time segment following the Everton Newcastle game, which finished 4-1 to Newcastle. Um, yeah, we're going to be running through it. It's just me on my own today. We'll be running through my thoughts, my feelings on it, who I think did well, who I think didn't play well. Then at the end, I'll round up how I feel as a whole coming out of that game with 5 games left to secure safety. First things first, I think it's fair to say this up until 28th minute where Callum Wilson scored his goal. I think yesterday meant that it's now like 8 goals in 6, 7 games against us. He's got a really, really annoyingly good record against us. It was written in the stars that he was going to get a goal. Until that 28th minute goal, I thought we played well. I thought we played really well in terms of the press. The press was there, the intent was there, the crowd was up for it. We had a couple of chances, none of them any good, unfortunately. Dwight McNeil deciding to have pops from quite far out. Yeah, the price was there, the intent was there, the effort was there, and then sort of it all just fell away for a little bit. Callum Wilson getting his goal goes against the run of play. It has to be said. He switches out. It's switched out to Target, who helps it onto Jolinton, who bursts down the wing, cutting inside, gets wrong foot Godfrey. Pickford saves a shot, pushes it out against Tarkowski, bounces off Tarkowski for Wilson to fire into the net. Really, just it should have been the writing on the wall against the run of play. Really unfortunate goal to concede because Pickford's made the initial save. It's bounced off Tarkowski with force, which takes a lot of it out. Maybe if he wasn't there, the ball goes a bit further out the box. It certainly wouldn't have fallen so nicely to Callum Wilson. But Wilson makes no mistake. It'd be really tough for him to miss from there, wouldn't it? This is a prelude as well to the theme for the rest of the match. If I was Sean Dyche, I'd have took Godfrey off then because it was only the start of it, and I'll go into it later because he's one of the players that I think really had a poor game. But the current theme for this game was that he wasn't over enough on that right-hand side, and Jolinton had so much space all game, and he refused to learn. And ultimately, I think Godfrey is one of the players that really cost us. But that being said, the goal went in, and straight away, boom, the atmosphere sucked out the crowd, which I'm not blaming either. That's not a dig at the crowd. The whole before the game, the coach greeting, the flares, the atmosphere, the intent from the fans for a 28th minute goal from a man that everybody I think knew was going to get a goal against us, and the way it did, I think it just hit home reality of we really are, down. We're down here for a good reason. So I'm not surprised, and also it's not fair to the board or the players or the manager or anybody to expect the fans to lift the team through another relegation battle when we did it last year, and it's expected this year. If by some miracle we stay up and things don't change, it will be down to fans again next year because we'll be in the same mess unless there's big changes made. And it's just not on. So I can completely understand why the atmosphere was sucked out. That being said, that wasn't the reason it finished 4-1. I actually think we, for large parts of the second half, again, were towards the end of the first half, we were a bit better as well. That goal by Calvert-Lewin, it's offside. It is offside. As soon as he ran in real time, I was watching it. I was like, he's off there. It was pretty obvious he was off. I mean, the VAR made it look a lot closer, and I know people are saying, well, if John Stones was onside and Calvert-Lewin, at the end of the day, guys, I know you could do what about with it with John Stones, but he was off. He was off. It is his arm and stuff, and I don't agree that that gives him an advantage. But they're the rules. Rules are rules. You know, if we'd scored this, it'd been 1-1, maybe it'd have been a different game. But we can't be hanging on about what Bowsery. We won't go down if we do go down because of this loss. There are a number of losses before this that contribute to it. I wouldn't get too hung up on it. It's unfortunate, but I don't want to see it's a conspiracy. The league wants us down and all this because that's not the reason we're in this position. So don't get it twisted. He was off, but it was a really nice finish by Calvert Lewin, chipping it over Pope. So unfortunate. Yeah, yeah, unfortunate. But they're the rules. Hopefully they change next year. And hopefully it's not too late for us with the arms. But the second half, I actually thought we came out quite well. Newcastle came out very well. Linton again got a lot of things, but I think we had some good spells. Iwobi knocking target, who was all over him, powering past him, um, sort of powering it down the line, passing it to Calvert Lewin, who then shoots across goal and pushes it away. Calvert Lewin had a couple more. There was the one where he was offside. He said it was offside. Decore, and Decore keeps it alive, but again offside. Um, we had good spells in between what Newcastle were doing really well, which was breaking up the play. Longstaff was constantly on the floor, making sure we couldn't get any, trying to disrupt our rhythm as best we could. The commentators were calling it dark arts and stuff like that. It's known as dark arts. It's actually just a very clever way to break up teams that are trying to build some momentum. I wish we did it a little bit more. Then we might not have teams run through us as easily. But yeah, and then again we played well up until 72nd minute, maybe the 63rd. I know Almiron had a chance, but I don't think it was that good. It was up until it was really up until 70th. Newcastle had a great corner. Willock really, I thought that was in. Willock's chance, I thought was in, and I thought it was unfortunately one of the better goals I've seen this season. He does really well to hit that on the volley with that curl. He's already run off to celebrate. You can see his back turn, and Pickford does really well to save that. I thought that was game set and match then. Unfortunately, it was 2 minutes later. Joelinton scored. This was always going to happen. Gomes does really well to keep the ball up. He passes it to Willock, who bursts past Godfrey, flips it into the byline, and Joelinton has a free header, and that's 2-0. Again, Godfrey, fault for that one for me. Then the Watergates just open. I think the team knew they were done. The crowd knew they were done. And yeah, what to say? Goal from Callum Wilson, really, really good. Good goal. Everton clearly stunned by this. It's a Gay does get across to him, it's cross to Gomes, who puts it to Wilson at the edge of the D, and he just curls it. A lovely shot. It has to be said. It's so unfortunate because it's a really good goal. I hate that it came against us. And at this point, I think the players would give up. McNeil obviously pulls one back from a corner, um, which is, one of those. It's rare to score from a corner. I don't know why he wasn't taking corners from the right where Iwobi was, because Iwobi's corners were awful yesterday. But then one back, 3-1. Maybe there's a game on our hands. Highly unlikely. And then literally a minute later, Murphy with a fourth goal for them. Yeah, Isaac drives down the wing, checking back at one point to lose Keane. He takes it to the byline, carries it past a couple of defenders, lifts it over Pickford for Murphy to tap in. This one for me sums up us. We get a goal. Heads have clearly dropped. Attention is on the floor. Bam, we concede straight away. And then we get let off that Shaw's goal is ruled offside because it could have easily been 5-1. Really, really frustrating sort of game. It's just disappointing. disappointing. I'll go through the players I think could have done a little bit better. But overall, I think in patches, we played really well. The press was there. The core being up there with Calvert-Lewin helps because he's got the legs. Calvert-Lewin being back in the team helps massively. But then in other periods, we just fell away. Classic Everton falling away. Um, I'll go through players that played well first because this will be very, very short. But I think Dwight McNeil played well, and I think Iwobi did all right as well. That run on target was really impressive. Um, Other than that, maybe Euro Nana, um, say one of those two. Players that didn't play very well is a little bit easier. I think both centre backs had a tough game. Tarkowski played a little bit better than Keane, but Tarkowski's passing really poor and Michael Keane running out. I wish they wouldn't try and take on the world or centre backs. They've not got that in their lockers. Stop doing it. But they're not the two I'm going to pick. I actually thought Mikalenko had an all right game, not a brilliant game. I wasn't going to put him in the best performers, but he didn't have an awful. He made some tackles and got some blocks in. I'm going to say Jordan Pickford had a disappointing game for me against Newcastle. Shock horror. If we stay up next season, I would personally get a good second in command keeper. And I'd maybe this people might think this is radical, but I'd drop Pickford for the Newcastle United games. As good as he is, and he is fantastic, I do worry that because of the Sunderland links, this isn't the first game against Newcastle where his head isn't fully there. Happens once, shame on him. Happens twice, shame on the club. Happens 3, 4 times. Somebody needs to pick up the pattern and make the change. It's fine in one game, 2 games a season, and he can't play. That's fine. If you're not gonna, I think he cares about it too much, because they're his rival. I think he cares too much, and it his passing sometimes was a bit off. I hate where he invites the press because it never goes well, and 9 times out of 10 he boots it out. Um, and I think some of the chances he could have done a bit better with. He does palm the ball out a lot into play, but overall not the worst player. The worst player by a country mile, Ben Godfrey. Why he was left on the pitch so long is down to Sean Dyche. But yeah, awful, awful game out at right back. And it made me beg the question, what is it with Ben Godfrey at Everton? Because I don't think he's going to get a run as centre back. He did well at left back under Carlo Ancelotti, but I think he's gone there this season. We've proved that he isn't a left back, though. So the next logical thing is we'll stick him at right back where he's right footed. That might help him out a little bit more. Um, Again, really poor game from him. Got absolutely shoved around. Never. I think one of the biggest problems when watching it was that, and it's very ironic because there's a fella that sits in the Gladys Street behind my dad, who is notorious with me and my dad because he'll shout "Get over" to Coleman constantly, "Get over, get over," um, and he probably burst a blood vessel yesterday because it's the one thing Ben Godfrey didn't do. Didn't get over enough. There was countless times where Jolinton had the whole of the left wing, and you're like, "Where's Ben Godfrey?" And he's almost centered like a third centre back in a free. You're not playing at a free at the back. You're meant to be the fullback. Get over and stop the play down the wing. He didn't. Linton had the time of his life. Willock had the time of his life. Target when he got forward one-on-one with him was having a decent time as well, but it mainly was Willock and Jolinton. Yeah, for me, Ben Godfrey really poor. I want to see him at fullback again. I know Seamus. I don't know how far Seamus Coleman is from being fully fit. I'd rather maybe. I think Patterson's raw. People keep going Patterson, Patterson, Patterson. I think he's raw, but at least he's a fullback. Seamus Coleman's the biggest one. If you told me this time last year we'd be sitting here saying, "God, I wish Seamus Coleman was back in this side," I'd have thought you were mad. But yeah, the players I thought didn't play very well. Moving forward, what do we do? It's tough, isn't it? We've got a couple of games left. This game, I said I'd take a draw from. If we lost this, we're not done. but performances like that at home don't give a good indication to how the away games are going to go, and we're going to have to start winning some of these away games. For me, Leicester, which we'll have a preview of coming out soon with myself. So I won't say too much to spoil that, but Leicester's a must-win for me now. This wasn't a must-win. I mean, they're all must-wins, but this wasn't a must-win. But Leicester, we lose that, and I genuinely do think we might be done. But yeah, overall, really disappointing from Everton. Players have got to be a lot better if they want to stay up. But yeah, that's all we've got time for. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and comment down below your thoughts. Look forward to reading them. Peace.